Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Doom Eternal. Today we're going to look at the first of 3 master levels, the Cultist Base, map 3 of the campaign. Welcome everyone of all skill levels if you're just joining us, where we hopefully will learn some stuff together for whatever level of play we're at. Of course, for those of you unfamiliar, master levels are essentially remastered, remixed versions of base campaign levels, generally to be, considerably harder. Meant to be played with a fully upgraded suit and arsenal. So as you can see already, the number of enemies is considerably more. We have a fight in the starting room, and there's zombies out here instead of just a couple of gargoyles, and some extras that spawn in. Kind of jumped the gun a little bit there, but we've got a revenant and now a pain elemental. I'm sorry, a cacodemon, then a pain elemental. So our incidental fights are going to be more numerous, in addition to the main fights being considerably tougher, with a lot more enemies and a lot more heavy and super heavy demons. Though otherwise the level is largely the same. We have some of the same secrets, mostly the same progression, with a couple of minor differences. So this fight here, as you can see, it's great to take advantage of your flame belch to get a lot of armor drops scattered around, especially when you have a ton of enemies in one space, and you can get flames on all of them. You can see just how many sort of incidental pickups I'm getting here, just kind of as we go, because they're just lying there. I talked about this in some of the previous episodes of Pretty Average Nightmare. But definitely remember to take advantage of that. Get armor on the ground when you can, even if you don't need it, if you're in a fight where it's very likely that you're going to lose some health. That way you can keep your reserves topped up.
Is somewhere in this facility. I cannot pinpoint his exact location at this time.
And don't forget your extra life here. Extra lives are still a thing. I believe there are 5 in this map. So we have 3 master levels that are currently released. Cultist Base, the Art Complex, which were the first 2, and this one I believe is only... Notice my my frame counter was on. Don't really need that on for the video, so get rid of that. But yes, this was the first one that was released. I believe it was strictly a pre-order bonus, and to my knowledge it is not currently available otherwise. Don't quote me on that, but as far as I know, it was a pre-order bonus only. The Art Complex was released for free later on.
Welcome, Slayer. Is my time beginning? Let's see if you're strong enough to survive this cursed city.
And the Super Gore Nest was also released for free, and that one's the most robust of the 3 and by far the most difficult.
The Slayer has arrived. All mortal challenge.
So this little hallway fight is basically the same as in the base game, except you have a Dread Knight instead of a regular Hell Knight. You can still, of course, make use of your traps, use the switch to get the blades out and cut some of these guys down quick. We got a Pinky that joins the fight now. You save a blood punch up for him. Yeah, Super Gore Nest, by far the hardest of the 3, on par with some of the most difficult content from the DLC. So that's one you may have to knock down difficulty or 2 from what you're used to, depending on your skill level. But it's cool because it's also got like some different stuff. It's got a start from scratch mode. I can't remember what they call it, maybe classic mode, where you have to acquire all your weapons over the course of the level. And they also have an Ultra Nightmare option, where you, of course, get 1 life to do the whole thing, and that is no easy task. It's a tough, tough level. I have not managed that yet, by any stretch. This fight is similar, I guess, to its vanilla counterpart, just with a whole lot more going on. You've got prowlers, a couple of carcasses, 2 arachnotrons, and of course the Mancubus at the start, and then a Baron spawns in to finish things out. So that's one thing that is worth noting about these master levels, and really the DLC as well. When you have such an abundance of targets, of course small guys as well, but especially the preponderance of heavy and super heavy demons, you're going to use a lot more ammo, because you just, especially if you're doing a lot of weapon combo, you're going to run out fast because you have a lot of targets to dump a lot of ammo into. So that being the case, you want to make sure you're being cognizant of how much ammo you actually have available, and do your best not to get into a situation where you're stuck without a lot of resources when you need them. Try to be a little extra mindful of that. Take out a couple of prowlers with the blades there. And then we get a gaggle of imps that we can use to restock our stack. You should always view in these master levels, and really, I guess, the DLC as well. I mean, it applies to the base game too, but it's especially important the more difficult the content gets, to look at these smaller groups of enemies as a chance to reset your stack. But even one like this, which is, you know, an incidental fight, which is, you know, there's a couple of heavy demons here, but they're not too bad, so this is a decent opportunity to kind of also work things to your advantage, you know, get some flame belches in, do a couple of glory kills if you can, and get your stack back. Don't forget our 1-up there. Puts us at 3 lives so far. I do recommend these master levels though. They are tough. This is by far the easiest of the 3, I think. Art Complex is a little bit tougher, but not by a whole lot. And the Super War Nest is on a level all its own, really. It is some of the toughest content that's been released for the game to date. This is one of the tough fights of this map. These master levels are a great chance to practice, especially if you haven't tackled the Ancient Gods Part 1 yet, or if you have, but you're, you know, looking for a little more practice, want to gear up for the Ancient Gods Part 2. Playing these maps on your most challenging difficulty, whatever that may be, is a great chance to just kind of beef up your skills, test yourself, learn what your strengths and weaknesses are, if there's anything you kind of need to work on a little, shore up a bit. So if you haven't had a chance to really check out some master levels, I definitely recommend you do so. So as you can see, this fight is considerably more difficult than it is in the base game. You've got... It's a similar in tone in that there are a lot of smaller mobs that you have to keep track of, and some heavy hitters to watch out for that will do a lot of damage. And some of the parts are a little more focused on ranged attacks, but missed my glory kill there. But not quite to the degree that the original version of the map has here, where you have a lot more gargoyles who are more dangerous as far as their ranged attacks go compared to imps. And we've got these barons who are, for the most part, close-up attackers rather than firing off projectiles. The dynamic shifts a few times depending on the loadout of enemies we have. But since this is a pretty open space, you can more easily sort of seek and destroy, find the target that is causing you the most grief or that you want to get rid of the most, and you usually have the space to seek them out. So more of a luxury here than you'll get in some of the later encounters. We have our Doom Hunter, and we can take him out very quickly now that we have 2 blood punches. One of the nice advantages of having yourself at full upgrades, having completed the campaign. That is the best and fastest way to take them out generally. Doesn't work in every single circumstance, because sometimes you need to save a blood punch or 2 for other things, but maybe health there is in the same place that it normally is. And we have another fight here with, I think, a couple of prowlers, this Hell Knight, and eventually a marauder. Who is just spawning in there. Hopefully at this point you have a pretty good idea of how to fight marauders. So this guy will not be especially tough. I did screw up my weapon switching there, which I do again in a second. Not sure why I had butterfingers for some reason. I was just a touch late on that second one, so it didn't get the full complement. You can take care of his ghost dog with close range most easily with the super shotgun, at medium to long range with a ballista shot, but also you can use grenades pretty well for that in addition. The ice bomb works fairly well as well. So this is the chance to reset your stack a little. For some reason I just could not seem to hit this explosive, which would have made that all go a little smoother, but I just can't seem to hit anything generally. Sideswiped by this guy who I failed to notice. And that guy as well I got hit by, but thankfully with so much armor lying around I really didn't end up down any stack, which is why I say always keep that armor just lying around. You'll often end up making use of it. Especially if you're not a, top tier player and you're prone to some mistakes here and there, like most of us, I'm sure. Helps to have that stuff around when you need it.
But he is weak. Your hate must match his will. Only then will you be truly saved.
Fight isn't, I guess, especially different from its base counterpart. The enemy composition isn't such that you really have to do anything super different. compared to the vanilla version. Maybe just kind of have to deal with more numerous and tougher enemies. And we're going to glitch out for just a second here. I thankfully was able to pick up immediately afterwards, so it ended up being okay, but I ran out of hard drive space. I thought I'd copied some videos off my recording drive. I'm trying to record to a different drive than I'm operating from, just to make sure that I cut down on any potential issues, hitching, that sort of stuff. And just hadn't copied some files off that I thought I had. So I ran out of space, but thankfully I caught it quickly and basically was able to pick up right where we left off, so no harm, no foul. We're nearly at the tail end of the fight anyway. Really just, at this point, have to take out this tyrant, who at this stage of the game isn't too bad, although you can see that he almost killed me there. That single stomp is quite powerful. So by this point, hopefully, with weapon comboing especially, they're not too much of an issue for you. But if you do make that mistake, they certainly can punish. That fight done, we go into the inner sanctum here. Of course, stock up on anything that we need. It's always important for master levels, especially. Take care of this little welcome coming here, who will help us stack back up nicely. This little traversal puzzle here is the same.
Your salvation lies in his destruction. The myth of the Slayer's strength is exposed now to us. Can you see it, brothers? He has lost the resolve to continue. Eat his soul. I must survive this. Protect me in my time of need, and you will secure your place in the new world.
So this is actually a tough little spot. Because I was not handling it very well, I opted to use the BFG here. BFG will help you in a lot of these circumstances, if you have ammo for it. So just using that to keep myself alive.
Your super shotgun is nearby. A relic from your past. The priests have kept it hidden from you in this remote location.
So this little death pit here is pretty much the same as the base map. It's just got more and tougher enemies, but it's the same principle. Basically, eliminate these guys as quickly as you can, avoid the environmental hazards, keep your health and armor topped up as best you can, and use the cue balls to your advantage. These guys are a little more numerous, I think, here. They spawn more of them for you. But it's also easier to miss with them because it's a little bit more crowded. But try your best to save those for the larger targets so that you get one-hit kills. I think we did manage to get a carcass with that at least. Good enough. And I do have Crucible here, which I always forget about. It's really easy to forget about. And once you're done, just finish off the remaining enemies, and that's that. Given your relative strength here compared to the base campaign, since this is early in the campaign, you have a lot more tools at your disposal. So it's not as tough as it might be, even with the more powerful enemies. This little traversal puzzle here is the same. But instead of a Cacodemon downstairs, we have a pain element. This fight is exactly the same, I believe, as it is in the base campaign. And over here, where there once was a secret, we now have Mega Health, which right now we don't actually need. This is also pretty straightforward. Honestly, I don't know why they kept this in the master level. I personally would have taken it out, because it just doesn't seem necessary. It's not especially challenging, even though there's more and tougher enemies. This really isn't any more difficult than the base map. It's just a kind of a fun breather, I guess. Something to break up the intensity a little. But as long as you move around and shoot stuff, you'll be fine. Grab your super shotgun and be on your way. Thank you and sorry. And we have a fairly tough battle here. It starts with a pair of tyrants on this side. And this is a real easy one to run out of ammo quickly. So make sure to watch your supplies. And make use of the abundance of small enemies to get those armor drops. I believe that instead of where in the base campaign these open manually, you actually physically open them yourself, and here I'm not sure if it is timed or if it's based on the proximity or simply the number of enemies that you defeated. I believe it's probably the last, the enemies defeated. It just opens them as you chew through these guys, but do look around to find any goodies you need. There's some ammo and health and armor and stuff lying around in the confines of those pillars once they open up. We'll stock up on all of our stuff here, things we missed, get a little armor. And the secret that is normally here is no longer.
Attention, all cultists.
And this hallway is the same.
Please destroy the Slayer. The priest must
Just a
survive.
gauntlet of
I repeat,
cultist zombies.
The priest must survive.
And this is a little different, because instead of an empty room that leads to a traversal puzzle, we've got, I shouldn't say a puzzle, but just a little platforming section. But now we've got a couple of paint elementals. It's really not especially troublesome. The main thing to be cognizant of is that there is a moat around this platform, so you don't want to fall off. Whoopsie daisy. The big enemy in this is just falling. And there is no secret encounter here either. But the one up that we're used to being behind these traps is still here. Primary feature here is these two whiplashes. That and the pinky, and we're pretty much done. Don't forget your mega health, and there is also another mega health over to the left here where the vinyl normally is. And then we'll head up and get into a big fight. This is probably the toughest of this map. It's just real easy to get pot-shotted. It's not as much safe room to move around as you might like. There's a prowler, possibly two prowlers. Yes, there's the other one. Two of the whiplashes again. A baron. And we've got a cyber mancubus. The arachnotron tends to be a little bit problematic to start, so I usually go for him first. And again, make use of multiple enemies for flame belch. Paint elemental is giving me some trouble. And that revenant got him into a glory kill state. I should have taken him out there. And I earlier missed several shots on the baron, which frankly, I should have managed to get, so I'm not actually sure what killed me there, but the revenant that I left alive certainly contributed at least a bit. And now we just have to dump our ammo into these remaining guys. And of course we have that extra crucible piece of ammo there that I really probably could have also used to avoid that unfortunate death. So we can go back and get that extra mega health to top up. And solve our simple puzzle to move on.
Are you growing tired, Slayer? We will break your will yet.
Pretty straightforward fight here with just a handful of guys and a couple of whiplashes again. So the secret down here at the bottom is still present, but it doesn't actually do anything. You can get down here, but there's no reason to because there are no Slayer gates that are a thing in these master levels. So thus no gate key, so no need to actually do it. Say hello to our buddy and move on.
I do not fear you. This match is not won yet. Come find me, Slayer. I will be waiting.
Dang, we're not very talkative in this mission. Sadly, there is no Doom Hunter Base Master Level yet. Not sure if they're planning to do all of them or not. But I'm sure there will be at least a few more to come, if not the entire campaign. This fight is honestly not as difficult as the one previous, I don't think, because this arena is just easier to move around in, so as long as you're good at using your traversals, you should be in somewhat better shape. And there's also a lot of resources here. We've got, I think, 4 large health pickups, a good bit of ammo, and also a couple of, like a helmet and an armor vest. And there's also the haste. So there's no particularly special strategy for this fight other than to just lay waste. Haste is, of course, great for being faster, it makes you harder to hit and such, but its probably best use is just making you a DPS factory. Although you do have to hit all your shots, which I missed quite a number there. I seem to fall down that corner for some reason. Yeah, I forgot there's also that small med pack there. So I really didn't even use a lot of the resources in this map. This is potentially a problem if you don't get to the Archvile in time and he starts spawning guys, but there's only one. So if you've played the DLC, you will certainly be used to fighting more than one Archvile at once. And there's that armor up there if you need it. Obviously there's no need to go around collecting things at the end of the level here, because there's nothing to go forward into, but it's there if you need it during the fight. Plenty of resources on this particular encounter, so it's not too bad. And that's it. Once you've finished that, you have finished the Cultist Base. And take a train to nowhere. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that I will see you on the Arc Complex Master Level, which will be coming up next.